Welcome to the All Sports Culture 2020 NFL Mock Draft version 1.0. My name's Sam from here at All Sports Culture, and I am very excited to bring you our very first interactive YouTube video. We have got much more planned for the future that revolves around all sports, so no matter what sport you are a fan of, we have got you covered. And I am so pumped for you guys to see what we have in store for the future here at ASC. So to kick off our YouTube content, I'm going to be bringing you my pre-free agency edition of my 2020 NFL mock draft. There isn't going to be any trades in this mock, but in future mocks there possibly could be. Though I will be noting if a team is a likely trade up or trade down candidate when I get to their selection. This mock draft is based entirely on what I would do personally as each team's general manager and not what I think they will do. Now, some rumors and news that have surfaced recently about these teams' off-season plans have influenced my picks here in some way or another, so take that as you will. But before I get started, I just want to say, if you have your own mock drafts, let us see them in the comments below. We would love to take a look at them and talk sports with you. But with that being said, let's jump right into my 2020 NFL mock draft pre-free agency edition. At number 1 overall after a 2-14 season, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Now the Bengals have a lot of holes to fill, but most importantly, it's the most important position on the field. And they're going to find that in Joe Burrow, the quarterback out of LSU. Do I really need to explain that much? Burrow is arguably the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Burrow does so many things right. The only real knock on his game is his arm strength, but his accuracy and IQ just makes up for it entirely. All signs point to the Bengals taking the Heisman winner number 1 overall, and there should really be no question about whether you take him or not. With the second pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, we have the Washington Redskins on the board, and this pick is going to be pretty easy as well. It's going to be Chase Young, the edge from Ohio State. This is simply a no-brainer. Chase Young, to put it in easy terms, is dominant. His numbers are just unfathomable. I know the Redskins just took Montez Sweat in the first round last year, but adding Chase Young is too good to pass on. He is arguably the best player in this draft and would have undoubtedly been the number 1 overall pick had Joe Burrow not been so unbelievable this past season. And that isn't a knock on Young's season at all. He was most certainly incredible in his own right. This is the pick without a doubt, and the top 2 of any mock draft should be locked in at this point. Now at number 3 overall, this is where the draft truly begins. And I think the Lions are definitely a trade down candidate with teams like Miami, LA, or Carolina that are looking at a quarterback. But we're not doing trades, so I have the Lions going with Jeffrey Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State. No team in the NFL gave up more passing yards than the Detroit Lions. And with the Darius Slay trade rumors still floating around, I think taking Okudah helps them in either scenario of them keeping or trading Slay. At number 4 overall, we have the New York Giants, who have been picky at the top of the draft a lot as of late. And it's not a good look because nothing really seems to be changing in New York. But they have a lot of options, but I have them taking Jedrick Wills, the tackle from Alabama. The Giants absolutely need to protect Daniel Jones. Their defense also needs some massive work. This tackle class is just so top-loaded with talent that taking Wills is ideal to me. Wills has such great physical attributes to his game, and I think the Giants should not pass on that at all. They're getting the number 1 tackle prospect in this loaded class, and you protect your franchise guy at the same time. And I think that's the direction Dave Gettleman will go. Now, come draft night, I actually don't think the Miami Dolphins are going to be picking at the 5th spot. I think they're going to be trying with all their heart to move up to number 3 to get this guy. You should already know the pick. It's Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback from Alabama. This is pretty obvious. Tua gives Miami their franchise quarterback that they've been looking for for a long time. But he also has the benefit of redshirting for a season behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he can get fully healthy, he can learn the system, and the Dolphins can shore up the offensive talent around him. I think lots of teams are going to try jumping Miami, but the Dolphins simply have the draft capital to move up the board to make sure they get Tua no matter what. At number 6, the LA Chargers are on the board, and they had a very unexpectedly bad season. They just moved on from Phillip Rivers, so a lot of people are going to be putting in a quarterback here. I actually don't. I have them taking Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson. Now, I had a major draft crush on Derwin James back in 2018, and I am so disappointed in the league for letting him fall that far. And the Chargers used him in every way I wish they would have. I have the same, if not more, of a draft crush on Isaiah Simmons. Labeling him as just a linebacker is underselling him immensely. He can play anywhere from the box to the slot and all the way down to deep safety. I absolutely love the fit in Los Angeles, and him alongside Derwin would just be too much to pass on, and I think that defense would be unreal. Justin Herbert was also an option here, but I think the Chargers are going to look to a veteran quarterback in free agency in order to get straight back into contention. Their roster is much more talented than their draft position says. At number 7 overall, we have the Carolina Panthers, who just hired Matt Rule to be their new head coach, and I have them taking their future quarterback, Justin Herbert, out of Oregon. I think Rule wants to construct the Panthers from the ground up, and that starts with the very most important position in the sport. Herbert has all the tools to be a great quarterback in the NFL, and I think Rule wants to bring those traits out of him. I personally don't think Cam Newton is going to be the starting quarterback for the Panthers past 2020, so I think they're going to look towards Herbert here. At number 8, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who I have selecting Mekhi Becton, the tackle out of Louisville. Becton is a monster. At 6'7", 370, he is just the right guy to protect Kyler Murray. I would love to see Becton line up in Arizona, although seeing Murray with his old college teammate CeeDee Lamb would be so much fun in their offense, and I certainly think that is a possibility. I just think this wide receiver class is so deep that you can manage to take one later, so the Cardinals decide to maximize the tackle talent on the board. With the 9th selection, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to run this card up as fast as possible as they are taking Derrick Brown, the defensive lineman out of Auburn. This would be 2 years in a row where a top defensive talent falls down the board right into their lap. Last year it was Josh Allen, this time around it is Derrick Brown. It just makes so much sense. Yannick Ngakoue's future with the organization is uncertain with his free agency approaching, and Marcel Darius' $14 million option is most definitely going to be declined. This would just be a massive win for the Jaguars on every level, and I absolutely love the pick. With the 10th spot, the Cleveland Browns, who just came off a really disappointing season, are going to be taking Tristan Wirfs, the tackle out of Iowa. Cleveland desperately needs offensive line help, which we saw on full display a lot throughout 2019, and new head coach Kevin Stefanski runs a lot of wide zone and play action. He will need an agile tackle. Enter Wirfs. The man is a machine when it comes to the run game, and he will fit nicely into that Stefanski offense. At the number 11 spot, we have the New York Jets on the board. Now, the Jets have a variety of options here. They could go offensive line, but you see, there's a starting run of all these top tackles coming off the board, so I think they're going to maximize the talent at the top end of another position group. I have them taking K'Lavon Chaisson, the edge out of LSU. Chaisson is a stud. I think after the combine, he is going to put up some serious numbers that will get him in some talk of going in the top 10. He's that good. Chaisson brings so much to the table that the Jets need on the edge. The man is as versatile of a pass rusher as you can get. He is unbelievably explosive. He has such fantastic burst. I adore this fit with the Jets. Up next at number 12, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, which feels weird to say still. And I have them taking my number 1 receiver off the board, which is CeeDee Lamb, the receiver from Oklahoma. Lamb has blue chip talent written all over him. I love everything he can do, anywhere on the field, and he is without a doubt my wide receiver 1 in this loaded draft class. Now you can see with how loaded this class is, these receivers are falling down, and I think that's going to happen come draft night. The Raiders finally find their number 1 option that they have been hoping that they can get for years since Amari Cooper and the Antonio Brown trade. Lamb, Josh Jacobs, and Darren Waller will make for such a fun offensive arsenal. The Colts had a very interesting season. They had a really unfortunate circumstance with Andrew Luck retiring right before the season began, so I have them taking his heir apparent. I have them taking Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah State. You know, I absolutely love Javon Kinlaw at this selection, but the Colts really need a quarterback, and Love being here just makes too much sense to me. There are loads of rumors about Chris Ballard being all over Love, and I think they hold water. With the 14th pick, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Andrew Thomas, the tackle from Georgia. This pick was pretty tough. Tampa Bay has a huge need in their secondary, but I just think they won't lean that way. I think this tackle class is too good to pass on, and I believe they will take their share of it with Thomas. No one knows really what's going to happen with Jameis Winston if he's going to be their quarterback next season, but he was sacked 47 times in 2019, so I believe this would be a good move for the Bucs to make. At number 15, the Denver Broncos are happily taking Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver out of Alabama. I believe the Broncos might actually trade up for Jeudy on draft night because of how perfect a fit he is in Shurmur's offense. Shurmur loves his timing routes, and Jerry Jeudy with his extremely polished route running and fluid movement will be instrumental in that passing attack. Denver shouldn't be complaining one bit if Jeudy falls into their laps once this run of wide receivers being selected starts coming to fruition. At the 16th spot, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Falcons had a very interesting start to their season. They were terrible, but as the season wore on, they got much better, but there was one position group that they just got absolutely nothing from in 2019, and that was the edge group. So I have them taking AJ Epinesa, the edge from Iowa. Epinesa just fits the mold of a Dan Quinn pass rusher. He was very productive at Iowa, and alongside his power, he will be slotted nicely into Atlanta, who need anything they can get at that position. I could see AJ going as high as in the top 10 to the Lions, if they end up trading down of course, or as far back as the Patriots at 23. It's going to be very intriguing to see how the board falls for him, but I have him slotted going to the Falcons. With the 17th pick, the Dallas Cowboys are on the board, and I almost gave them a safety here, but then I realized that I let this guy fall, and I am mad at myself for just allowing this to happen. Javon Kinlaw, the defensive lineman out of South Carolina. Kinlaw does not deserve to be going 17th overall at all. But look where we are. The Cowboys need defensive line presence, and Kinlaw is just such a talent that Dallas should be his absolute floor for where he falls. I don't think he's getting past 17 in any scenario. Kinlaw is that guy. The Miami Dolphins are back on the board at number 18, and to be honest, this pick in all likelihood probably won't be with the Dolphins on draft night if they end up trading up for Tua like I expect them to. To be fair, they could trade down here. I don't love the value for any other edge rusher or tackle at this spot, so I'm going to give them my best player available, which is Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver from Alabama. Speed kills. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Ruggs would go as high as the top 10 just on that sole reason. He isn't only fast, he has very good technique that will translate nicely into the league. Speed is such an integral part of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL today. Just look at Kansas City. So Miami gets their new quarterback, his college teammate, but in all honesty, this pick probably won't be their own. The Raiders are back on the board with the 19th selection. This is the pick they got from the Bears in the Khalil Mack trade, and I have them taking a linebacker. It's going to be Patrick Queen out of LSU. I think the Raiders come away from this draft head high. They are ecstatic. Queen plays with such a high football IQ and has fantastic instincts. He has great sideline to sideline speed that the Raiders will just covet. He is a leader and has shown that he can come to play in big moments, which we all know Mike Mayock absolutely loves. I thought about giving them a corner here, but Queen just fits that Raider mold in my mind, and I think they just can't pass on him. With the 20th selection, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars back on the board. This is the pick they got in the Jalen Ramsey trade. It's going to be Christian Fulton, the corner out of LSU. The Jaguars need to replace Jalen Ramsey's production on the field, and hopefully they'll find that in Fulton. It's going to be a hard name to live up to, but his coverage ability is top-notch. I just think he's the best corner on the board, so it makes so much sense to me for them to make this move. The Philadelphia Eagles had a very interesting season. They fought through thick and thin, through injuries, and all of that culminated in them winning the NFC East and making it to the postseason. The Eagles' corners are not good, so I have them taking Jeff Gladney, the cornerback out of TCU. Gladney just is explosive and has such great technique, and I think the Eagles will value his services more than a wide receiver because they got torched through the air throughout the season. I could see them vowing for a wide receiver in this spot. At 22 overall, we have the Buffalo Bills, and I have them taking Laviska Shenault, the wide receiver from Colorado. Buffalo definitely needs a wide receiver that's over 6 feet tall, but Laviska is much more than that. His run after the catch ability is just unbelievable for a wide receiver, and he could essentially line up in direct snap plays. This man is truly an offensive weapon in any facet of the definition. At the 23rd pick, we have the New England Patriots on the board, which feels weird to say because they are usually at the tail end of the first round, but they had a very disappointing end to their season. Tom Brady's free agency is approaching, and we have no idea what he's going to plan on doing, but I actually think Tom Brady is going to stay in New England. I think this is the best scenario for him to stay in, for him to win, and I don't really think any other teams in the running for him could give him a winning situation like New England can. The only other team that I think could is Indianapolis, but I think they're going to vow for their own quarterback. With them going to be spending a lot of money on Tom Brady this free agency, they're not going to be able to re-sign Joe Thuney. So I have them taking his replacement, which is going to be Lloyd Cushenberry III, the interior offensive lineman from LSU. The Patriots are going to need to protect Tom Brady if they want to keep him any longer into his mid-40s. Cushenberry is an absolute animal, and he showed out at the Senior Bowl. He has so much positional flexibility and length that I think the Patriots would love on the inside. Now, I know he played center in college, but I think he's going to start his NFL career at guard, just like Elton Jenkins did in Green Bay. He is most certainly capable of playing guard. The man can play anywhere in the interior line, which the Patriots definitely need. With the 24th selection, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting CJ Henderson, the corner from Florida. I think the Saints need another guy at the cornerback position, and CJ is such a good player to slide in back there. His coverage ability is just stellar, and he has a great skill set that I think will transfer nicely to the NFL. At number 25, the Minnesota Vikings are on the board, and their biggest hole is at the corner spot. That's where I'm going to go with this pick, and it's going to be Trevon Diggs, the corner from Alabama. 4 corners gone within a span of 6 picks is kind of crazy because last year we all expected like Greedy Williams to go high, but he ended up falling to the second, and only 1 corner went in the first round. All of these teams need it. Trevon Diggs just fits the mold of a Vikings corner. He's super physical and lengthy. He also is related to Stephon Diggs, so that's kind of a plus. But Xavier Rhodes is not their guy. And both Mackenzie Alexander and Trey Waynes are headed towards free agency. A free agency where the Vikings are currently over the cap and will have to pay Anthony Harris big money if they're going to want to keep him. The Vikings are going to need another corner or two from this draft class. At number 26 overall, the Miami Dolphins are back on the board with their 3rd first-round pick, and I have them going to help the offensive line. They're going to be taking Josh Jones, the tackle from Houston. The Dolphins' offensive line was terrible, and they need to add to it in order to eventually protect their new franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Jones has all the physical tools to be an absolute mauler in the NFL. Miami, who is currently rebuilding, can afford to develop players. With the 27th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, I have the Seattle Seahawks helping out their edge group. They're going to be taking Julian Okwara from Notre Dame. Okwara is going to fly up draft boards after the combine due to his athleticism, and I fully expect Seattle to be all in on him. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is going to re-sign with the Seahawks, and also Ziggy Ansah doesn't really do much for me in how I view their edge group. They absolutely need to add a body there, and I think they're going to fall for Okwara. With the 28th pick, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who had a disappointing end to their season after lighting it up in the regular season, but I have them helping out their defense a bit more, and I'm having them take Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. I nearly gave the Ravens Terrell Lewis at this spot, but I think they're going to find their edge answer in free agency. Kenneth Murray is that guy that the Ravens need in the middle of the field. He's fast, and his physicality is just top notch. This pick just gives the Ravens their replacement for CJ Mosley. The Tennessee Titans are up next at the 29th selection, and they had a super surprising postseason run. This is a guy who I mentioned earlier, and that's Terrell Lewis, the edge from Alabama. He would be so ideal for the Titans to throw across from Harold Landry in their defense. He does have some injury flags, but I think his pure talent warrants him the pick on his own. The Titans have a huge offseason ahead of them, and they will have to pay key guys like Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and Logan Ryan, just to name a few. It's going to be intriguing to see how their free agency pans out because it could change their draft plans entirely. The Green Bay Packers are up next, and they most definitely need to supply Aaron Rodgers with some weapons. So I have them going receiver, and it's going to be Justin Jefferson from LSU. LSU is absolutely dominating this first round, and they deserve it. The Packers have to add another weapon to Aaron Rodgers' arsenal outside Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. Usually they go wide receiver on day 2, but with how this board fell, I think they're going to go with wide receiver. I believe linebacker is a higher priority on their list with Blake Martinez likely to depart, and tackle also is a need with Brian Bulaga getting up there in age. Justin Jefferson is a quarterback's best friend, which is something that Aaron Rodgers is going to need in the twilight of his career. He is the slot wide receiver that Green Bay would love in their Matt LaFleur offense, and he can perform in big games. Those are the type of performances that the Packers are hoping to get out of a guy, as they are looking for immediate help in order to win a Super Bowl before Aaron Rodgers' end. The NFC champion San Francisco 49ers are up next, and I have them taking Xavier McKinney, the safety from Alabama. It took everything in my power to not send McKinney to Dallas earlier in this draft, but with Kinlaw available, I had to give them the steal of the mock. But the 49ers are not complaining with this outcome. McKinney's versatility is just magnificent, and I can see him slotting very nicely into Saleh's defense. Although I think San Francisco is a very likely trade down candidate with them not having any other pick until the 5th round of this draft, teams are going to try and jump up to get 5th-year options. So I think the Niners are going to be trading down in this draft, but if they can manage to get their hands on McKinney, they shouldn't be complaining at all. And last, but certainly not least, we have your Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs on the board. Now the Chiefs could go in a variety of directions. I could see them looking for replacements. I could see them adding to their offense, which is just scary enough. But here's my thought process. The Chiefs are certainly going to give Patrick Mahomes his big extension, which he rightfully earned, which is going to hurt their cap space for years to come. And I think one of the casualties of that extension is going to be having to let Chris Jones walk in free agency. Now, if they can manage to bring him back, that is spectacular. I just don't think they can afford to bring Chris Jones on a super big deal that he also deserves, but also signing Patrick Mahomes to a super big deal that he also deserves. I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking Chris Jones' replacement, and that's going to be Neville Gallimore, the defensive lineman from Oklahoma. He is the perfect, and I mean perfect replacement for Chris Jones. He is an excellent pass rusher with exceptional burst that will replace Jones's production nicely. He also fits the mold of being weak at run defense, but who honestly cares? I just love this fit if my expectations for the Chiefs offseason were to play out. This pick is just a home run in every facet of the word, and I love it. Also a note, it took everything in my power to not give the Chiefs Jonathan Taylor here, but I just don't believe running backs should be selected in the first round. So Gallimore it is, and Chiefs fans should be stoked if he were your Chris Jones replacement. And I mean, you just won the Super Bowl. You should be stoked regardless. And with that concludes our very first 2020 NFL mock draft. If you agree or disagree with your team's pick, please be sure to leave a comment down below so we can talk draft, because I could talk it all day. So I am down for a discussion down below. This hopefully is going to be the first mock draft of many for the foreseeable future, and I hope you all enjoyed the content. If you like these types of videos, please be sure to leave a like down below, and also subscribe to All Sports Culture on YouTube for more content like this in the future. We got big things planned, so stay tuned for more. Additionally, be sure to follow us on all socials for the best interactive sports media you can find. You can find us on Instagram at All Sports Culture, and also a new page we just launched, which is at ASC Betting. The sports betting industry is growing fast, so if you want to jump into it, we can help you out on that account, so be sure to follow that new page we just made. Also, follow us on Twitter at All Sport Culture, and our TikTok, which is also at All Sport Culture. Just wanted to say again, thank you guys for watching our very first YouTube video. There's going to be more coming soon, so stick around for more content like this. I've been Sam from All Sports Culture, and I'll see you all in the next one.